Hey everyone. So my voice is getting a little bit better. It's still kind of scratchy. I'm just getting over some laryngitis. So just bear with me for this video, but I promise it won't be as bad as the last video. So this is my very first financial literacy video on lesson 7.1, which is simple interest. So let's just talk really quickly. And if you want to pause the video, you're more than welcome to read this blurb here. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit about banking. So financial institutions like banks will either have you invest money into them or they'll lend you money. Okay. And so let's just talk about you depositing money into the bank. So you investing in the bank. When you do that, you're doing the bank a favor. So if you put $100 into the bank, they're going to be like, wow, thank you so much for putting your $100 with us and not with someone else. Here is some interest. So our reward for choosing us here is 1 to 2% interest on the amount of money that you just gave us. Okay. So if I gave them $100 and 1 to 2% is like a dollar or two, that's supposed to be an incentive for myself as a customer to choose them again or to continue to choose them over someone else. Okay. Now, a dollar or two is not very much, but I'm assuming you're putting more than $100 into the bank at a time. Usually people put thousands of dollars. And so 1 to 2% of thousands of dollars is actually a bigger incentive. Okay. Now, the money doesn't just sit in the bank. What they do is they take your money and they grow that money for themselves. But whenever you need your original amount of money back, they're more than happy to give that to you. But they've been making money off of your money while you've been away. Okay. So that amount of money that they're giving you as a little bit of reward, thank you very much for giving us your $100. Here's $1 or $2. That $1 or $2 again is called interest and it's in a dollar form. Now, the opposite thing happens when you borrow money. So let's say you need a lot of money to buy a car, to put a down payment for a house, or you want to go on a trip. You need a large sum of money. So you go to the bank and you ask them for a large sum of money, right? And they lend it to you. However, they're going to be like, no, no, you have that $4,000. I'm going to gift that to you. There you go, $4,000. However, you now owe me not only the $4,000 back, because obviously you have to pay whatever you borrowed in whole, you also have to owe me a little bit of interest as well. So they did you a favor. Now they're going to charge you a little bit of money on top of the money you asked for originally. That's also called interest, which is a dollar amount. Okay. Now, both of those are calculated using an interest rate. So, an interest rate is a percentage of the original amount of money that you either borrowed from them or you invested to them. Okay. If we talk about how interest is actually calculated, there's two different ways. One's called simple, and as the name indicates, it's actually quite simple. Compound is actually a little bit more complicated, and this one I'm going to talk about in, so if you're from my class, I'm going to talk in the lesson tomorrow. So I'll teach you tomorrow in class. All right, so let's talk about simple interest because that's what this video is on. Simple interest is basically interest that you earn or that you have to pay if it's a loan, and it's only based on the original sum of money, and it's only like calculated once. So I'm not sure how to. Okay, so let's pretend that I'm again investing $100, and they gave me interest that's $2. Okay, so now I have $102, right? I would get the $2 interest over and over again every year that I have my money in the bank. No matter how much money I get in the bank, they're only going to give me $2. That's how simple interest works. Okay, so it's very simple. The interest is only on the original amount of money. Now, there is a calculation, some sort of formula you can use in order to calculate simple interest. We use a capital I to denote the interest, the amount of money, the dollar amount. So I want you to put like the dollar sign right here, the dollar amount of money that you get as a reward or that someone is charging you if you're doing a loan. Okay, P represents your principal, spelt just like your principal at school. That's your original amount of money that you're investing or you're borrowing. The R is your interest rate, and so that's the percentage. T is going to be time, and time always has to be in years. Okay, now this is just the extra amount that you're either getting as a reward or you're being charged. Now, if you want the total amount, that we call the amount, right? We use capital A, and that would be if you took your original amount, your principal, and you added it to your extra reward or your extra charge. So both of those together is going to be your principal, sorry, your final total amount. Okay. Now, before we actually use this formula at all, you need to make sure that your R and your T, you know how to calculate properly. And so your R, whatever interest rate they give you, you must put as a decimal. So if it's given to you as a percentage, like say down here, 6%, you must change that to a decimal, 0.06. Even if it has a decimal in it, 4.5%, there is the point, the decimal, you still have to divide it by 100 in order to change it into a decimal. So this number right here is going to be what is inserted into your R value. Okay, so you can take a look at the others, but you're always dividing the percentage by 100, and that's the number that goes into your R always. Never ever put the 32% just as 32 into your R. You're going to get a ridiculous number for your interest rate, and I'm sure we'd all love to have that much of a reward, but we can't. So T is your time, and your time always has to be in years. So notice that this guy right here says 4 years. That's already in years. So I would input 4 into the formula right here for T. I just put 4 right in. Now, if it's not in years, you have to convert it to years. And so if it says 18 months, you go 18 months, but you have to divide by how many months there are in a year, and that's 12. So 18 months translates to 1.5 years, right? Because that's 12 months and then an extra 6 months to get it into 18 months. So it's a year and a half. Now, if you have 16 weeks is like barely a year, right? And so how much of a year is it? You're going to have to go 16 weeks divided by however many weeks there are in a year. And there's 52 weeks in a year. Okay, so these two divided is about approximately 0.31, so a third of a year. Okay, with days, you're going to take the number of days they're asking you and you're going to divide it by 365 days a year in order to convert it into years. And again, this one for weeks, divide it by 52 because there's 52 weeks. So 52 weeks is one exact year. So these are what some of the questions could look like. And the way that I know to do the simple interest formula, because we had said, I'm sorry to scroll back and forth. We said there were 2 different ways to calculate interest. So how do you know when to use this formula and how do you know when to use the formula I'm going to teach you tomorrow? So you're going to use this one, simple interest formula, when you read through the question and it says simple interest. So notice that I highlighted that in the blue, I guess, in each question. So as soon as they say simple, I know I have to use my simple interest formula. Okay, so you just put it down, you literally look at what they tell you and you stick it into the formula. Okay, so $300 is invested for 2.5 years at 6%. Okay, $300 is my principal, my original amount, my P. 6% is my interest rate. Remember, you have to convert that to a decimal by dividing by 100. The 2.5 years is the time. So you put 2.5 and it already is in years. So we just literally put it as 2.5. When we take the 300, multiply the 0.06, multiply the 2.5, we get 45. Now, what does that mean? It is the interest that is earned. So this person that invested $300 got an extra reward of $45 as a bonus just for investing, and that was over 2.5 years. Okay, so I hope you understand now what that I represents, and it's always in dollars. Okay, so Joe borrowed $500 from his parents to buy a drone. They charged him 2.5% simple interest. Okay, so I start with my simple interest formula. He paid them back in 14 months. How much interest did he pay them? And how much did he pay in total? Okay, so the $500 that he borrowed, that's his loan of $500, his principal. The 2.5% is his interest rate. Change it to a decimal by dividing it by 100. Okay, now 14 months has to be in years. So take the 14 months and divide it by 12 because there's 12 months in a year. So this will be your T value. Okay, again, because it's in months, it should be in years. When you multiply all three of those together, you're going to get about $14.58. So how much interest did he pay them? He paid them $14.58 in interest. How much did he pay them in total? He had to pay the $500 back and the 14.58 as like a bonus to them, right? So an extra surcharge for you. So he paid $514.58 in total. So the total amount is the principal and the interest rate together. All right. Now, just like a really quick thing, if you take the 14 divided by 12, I want to say that's like about 1.17. You can put 1.17 here with an approximation dot. But what you'll notice, if you actually take out your calculator and you multiply those three numbers together, you'll get a slightly different answer. And so, like, this actually is the most accurate answer because all of this is in exact numbers. I only rounded at the very end. So if you want to have like the most accurate answer, it's best to round at the end. Because I think actually when I calculated my most accurate answer, he owed them less. When I rounded it and it did an approximate answer, he owed them more. And you never want to owe more than you have to. Okay, let's try the last two questions. Peter invested in a GIC that paid 3.25% simple interest. So that's right there as my interest rate. 36 months, I'm going to change that to years by dividing it by 12. And he earned $485. Wait, hold on. He earned that much. That's not his original investment. How much did he invest originally? This is my I. He earned that much in interest. So I'm looking for P this time. Now, the way that we do that is P is multiplying the green, multiplying the blue. And so what you do is just multiply these two together. I got about 0.0975. And then P times this is going to equal 485. So divide both sides by the 0.0975 and you will get your P by itself, which is $4,974.36. So that was his original investment. And the very last question, what rate, so if they're asking for rate, they're looking for R, of simple interest is needed for $700 to double? So $700 must have been the original and the final amount must have been, oh boy, I don't think I did this question quite correct. And I should have known because the interest rate is so high. I did not do that right at all. Okay, so the final amount of money, which should have been my A value, would have been $1,400. Okay, so the rate is what you're looking for. The T is in years. I accidentally put their doubling amount of money, $1,400, as my entire interest. That's not right. Let me think for a second. How should I correct this? Is needed for to double. Oh, this one right here, I think should have been 700. Yes, because if the interest, you actually got it to be $700 interest, then the $700 interest and your, is that right? $700? I think so. I'm sorry, guys. I'm doing this on the fly and I got to pick up my kid in about 5 minutes. My brain is not working properly. I believe that if the interest is $700 that you gained and you're originally putting in $700, together those would have been $1,400, which means your amount would have doubled. So I apologize. Please change my answer in your own notes to this is $700. I think that should be right. Now let's go through the rest. I'm going to go through my numbers that I have here, but it's essentially the same thing if you change this to 700, okay? So you're going to take the red and the blue, multiply them together. You have the R by itself. You divide both sides by this number beside the R so that you get R by itself, and that's going to be your percentage. Now it's going to be written as a decimal. You got to remember to write it as a percentage. And so the interest rate was, in this case, my mistake answer was 67%. So sorry about that last part, guys. I was in a rush.